Hi everyone, I'm Josh.
And I'm Jim, and this is the Dapper Meeple.
This show is about our love of gaming, the games we play, and the gaming community around this passion.
So grab some snacks, pull up a chair, and join us at the table with your monocle and bowler hat. Hey kids, remember, this is an adult podcast and may contain adult language.
Also, the Dapper Meeple outfit, not required.
Hey, here's the deal. If you want Critical Role level games, you gotta have a Critical Role level DM and players.
Oh yeah, and you gotta have Critical Role money.
Oh yeah, there's that part. And while the Rogue GM may not be making that kind of bank, DMing as a service is here.
Today we're talking to Chris Todd, the owner, operator, and sole employee of the Rogue GM, a paid, in-person Game Master service.
So sit back, enjoy your Thanksgiving, and maybe listen to us instead of having those awkward conversations with your family.
All of that on this episode of the Dapper Meeple. Also, shout out to Shannon for listening to us while she cooks.
So we've talked a lot on the show about the popularity of just TTRPGs and what has spurred that. And even through this whole process, there have been some discussions about the Mercer effect, where new people are expecting to show up and do like Critical Role level campaigns, which is a phenomenal amount of planning. And we are lucky enough to have somebody today that's going to be an expert on this. We're excited to have him on the show. He is a local here with us in Virginia Beach, though we're hoping that he gets a lot more expansion here sooner. Chris Todd is the owner and lead game master at Rogue Game Masters. So Chris, welcome to the Dapper Meeple.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so like I said, local to us, which is really exciting. Chris does, and so we'll let him explain it. Chris organizes and runs D&D games as a profession. Let's start with, how did you get here? The kind of the geek bona fides that we run.
How did I get here? Not in my car, so I'm not going to start with that one. Okay, how did I get into gaming in general? I'm looking around, by the way, looking around your studio here, and you have so many wonderful games in here, and I'm looking at them going, never played these. I am that nerd that knows Dungeons and Dragons, and that's about it, because I was told pick something that you love and stick with it by my wife, and so that's what I stuck with.
I was going to say, if anybody else had told you that, you're like, you don't talk to me like that.
No.
My wife told me, he's like, nope, that makes sense.
The redhead wins.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, every time. So before I met my wife, outside getting out of college, 2000, 2001, my friends all played in high school. They played D&D in high school, and I didn't even know what it was. Like, I wasn't that friend that was invited over to play D&D because I wasn't part of that crew. I was the school friend, right? But when I left for college, I came back. My parents were stationed in Guam.
I've been there.
My dad was the XO of the base there at that time. I had nowhere to go when it came to just going home.
Mm-hmm.
And so I connected with some of my high school friends because I went out of state for college, and I didn't want to go out at night. I was a struggling teacher. I started teaching, so I didn't have a lot of money. So they were like, hey, why don't you come over and hang out? I'm like, cool. What are we going to do? And they were, we're going to play Dungeons and Dragons. I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah. I said, all right, whatever. So I came over and I sat down and I fell in love with a kind of a mix match of AD&D second edition and like a little bit of like TMNT thrown in.
Yeah.
Some of the, because back in the day, you just mixed them books up and it was great. And so that's how it started. Was I didn't have money to go anywhere. And we had a game master who loved running games for people.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And then about a year later, my D&D game was canceled. And instead of going home, I went out and I met my wife that night. It's been something that's tied into my relationship as well since I've been with her.
I hope you've had that discussion at some point that, hey, hon, you know that in D&D, the real big bad evil guy is always scheduling.
Oh.
And he's responsible for us.
Yeah.
Just perfect.
That's why I have a company.
Yeah.
That's what I aim to do, is slay that scheduling monster.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, we've looked through it and like really just the way that it runs from the outside looking in makes a lot of sense to us.
Yeah.
It's one of these things where it looks worth it. I don't see where anybody complains about it or has a valid complaint about it, because we'll get into that too.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want that experience, I mean, you got to know that Critical Role's got a backing. So, yeah. So I guess let's roll right into it. So your company is
Rogue Game Masters.
You just changed that name too, not that long ago.
Okay, so when we started the company towards the middle end of COVID, I was running games professionally myself.
Sure.
Over COVID. I actually started a month before COVID shut the world down. I started running games professionally out of the local game store. And when the world was shut down, one of the last groups I ran for, I was doing one-shots. And that group came together as a whole and said, hey, Chris, can you do this virtually? And I'm like, I don't know. Let's find out. And I made it work with a school system computer and an old Rebel DSLR camera for the terrain. And I made it work, and I turned it into negotiating out of teaching with my partners, who were fantastic, who have stayed with me to help me. My wife would have left me if I just left and ran games exclusively.
Sure.
The first bit was just putting together the business model, making sure we could get it to work, and have a first iteration of a website, and then find game masters locally. And so that's what we did. We called it the Rogue DM because in this area, in circa 2001, if you typed in professional game masters in Hampton Roads, Virginia, I was the first person that came up because I would post things on Facebook and things like that. I was the Rogue DM. And so I had a brand, and they decided, hey, we should just name it your DM handle. And I'm going, okay, but there'll be confusion. Nah, it'll be fine. And then that first website was a bit hard to work with, and there was a lot of confusion because they would say, oh, I thought I was getting the Rogue DM when someone else would post a game. And I'm like, that's just so over time, the website, that first iteration wasn't working out as well as we wanted it to. So we paid a professional, pumped a lot of money into it, and we changed the name originally to Rogue Dungeon Masters. Okay. And then as we're doing all the stuff, we're almost like ready to launch. And one of my partners says to me, is Dungeon Masters copyrighted? At a meeting. And I'm like, I don't think so. And the other one goes, hold on. And you hear him typing, clack, clack, yep. I remember that. Yep. And so we had to do a quick pivot to Rogue Game Masters. And it was probably the best decision we ever did. Don't get me wrong. Rogue Dungeon Masters, it flows a little bit better. It's stuck with the Rogue DM. Yeah. Because that's still who I am, the Rogue DM on my site. But Rogue Game Masters is a much more encompassing title for our company. Number one, we're doing things differently than others, so that's where the Rogue comes from. Rogue's also my favorite class, so I just snuck that in there. But we're not doing virtual anything.
Cool. That was going to be a question.
We are in person. We are all in person, all in public, because people who want to play also want to feel safe. Yeah. So like I said, you have a wonderful studio here, but not everyone has that same experience going to a stranger's house.
That's right.
Right. And so I don't want people to feel pressured. Oh, there's a game at this person's house way out in the boonies. What if they have a cat and I'm allergic, right? Going in anaphylactic shock. I don't want people to be responsible for that or feel scared. Yeah. So we do in person, in public. We'll talk about the relationships with the venues in a little bit, and we pivoted on the name to Rogue Game Masters because we also offer other services. And that's something that we really haven't gotten a lot of traction on. But as we're expanding, I'm hoping to do that. We offer board game coaching. We just did a small convention in Williamsburg called Berg Quest. Yeah. And we were the platform where they ran all their professional games through their scheduling, and people paid for the sessions. And it ran smoothly. That's nice. We do one-shot events. So the goal is to expand into other games and really expand the professional side of gaming.
And I think that's the best way that I've heard it put. It really is. Like we said, if you've ever ran a game, or if you've ever lived with somebody that ran a game, you see the amount of preparation that you have to put into just the getting this on the ground for people to have a good time. And it's a lot.
And I'm going to say something that's probably not very popular. If you don't recognize that, then you're probably not the kind of person that somebody wants at the table. Because it's those my character would do that, right? Those are the folks that the metagamer, this isn't the rules, that's not how it's supposed to be done, no girls allowed. Those are the people, those are the only folks that ever give me pushback. I've gotten a lot less pushback than some of the other professional GMs. I'm friends with a lot of them on social media. Sure. Yeah. I see a lot of their posts about people being negative. I'm like, I really haven't experienced that too much. And when I do, by the time I'm done having a conversation with them, they're like, oh, I got a point. Actually, that's not a bad idea. Because my lead in to them is, you don't want to pay for a game master. I get that. When was the last time you played? I'm like,
Yeah.
if you have to think about it, then you need a professional game master. Because you just said to me, you really love playing D&D and you really miss playing it, but I would never pay for a DM. But you can't tell me when the last time you played as well.
Yeah.
You're getting what you paid for.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're swinging back around to the Matt Mercer effect. People are paying to watch Critical Role.
Yes.
They pay for it. So that is, he is being paid by his audience to put on a performance.
Yeah.
Okay. I do the same exact thing, and I bring the entertainment.
Yes.
And that's why I have 6 games a week, and my tables are sold out. And they're campaigns that run for years. I just ended a 5-year campaign.
Those are, yeah.
It started over COVID.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like right at shutdowns. It was a 4.5-year campaign, and we're starting the brand new one Friday because they don't want to stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're still paying me. And they were with me when I was only charging $10 a person. And they understood that when I upped my value, they were like, that's fine. I had a group of people that told me, you're charging a lot less than I would pay for normal entertainment, Chris. You should consider that. You have to know your value.
Yeah.
I actually do know my value.
Yeah.
I'm making money off of my games, yes, but I'm not doing it to just look at me. I'm making all this money, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm the head of my company. I have to maintain the status quo.
Right.
So if I keep the average price, that's the one thing that we didn't do when prices were being gouged left and right, when you have inflation, when everyone's freaking out because their Netflix bill went up from $7 to $14, when Disney Plus, all that other stuff. We maintained our price. Even when we updated the site, our standard price was $25 per person per session.
Yeah.
And then when we did the newest release of the website, when we went nationwide, we allowed GMs for the first time to choose their own price. But we suggested keeping it at $25 per person per session.
Like lessons learned for them when they're coming in.
Because if you undercut the market as well, it's not good for the other GMs that are coming in as well.
Yeah.
And and then to be honest with you, I have a game master who he keeps wondering, why am I not selling my tables out? And I look and he's charging $10. And if everyone else is charging $25 or $30, because some people do bi-weekly games and they raise the price to $30 and they also run for a little bit longer. So that's their justification. More power to them. But if you're offering a $10 game, people think it's just not a lot of money so people can afford it. But what I see is you don't value yourself. You're cheapening yourself.
Yeah. Do you think that has like when people are looking at the website, that's something that they see and it's just, oh, I'll pay more because it's probably a better game? Is that like kind of the mentality?
If you see, if I have 20, if I'm doing 25 per person per session, and then you can go in and you can see my rating, because that's another part of the website is all of our GMs have to be rated before they can start posting games. That is their vetting process. I used to interview people, but if you're in Sacramento and you want to become a professional game master to run in-person games on our platform, on our service, I can't interview you in person. Okay. Right. Don't get me wrong. I would love to fly out to Sacramento and do that, but I can't do that for every GM that joins up. So the way the vetting process works is they have to be recommended. They have to be reviewed by their current or former players. And they have to have, we don't use stars. We use D20s because duh.
Yeah. Cause I'm a sucker for a theme.
So we use D20s. And they have to score between a 4 and 5 D20 average score on up to at least 5 reviews before it unlocks game posting. They can't physically post a game until they have been reviewed.
Got it.
And I have had people messaging me, because we have messaging systems on the site too. So you can just go ahead and send me a message. I've been trying to get people to do messages for my games, or for me, for the professional. And I've had to have serious conversations with people. If they're not doing it and you've been trying for 3 months and you know that they have time, it's probably because they don't want to do it, because they're not going to give you the score that you're looking for. And if that's the case, like here's my phone number. Let me talk to you about what you can possibly do to improve your DMing to a professional level. And that's what I'm trying to bring with RGM is I add a personal touch to everything that I do.
Okay.
So you've seen Start Playing .games.
Yes.
Start Playing .games. Wonderful idea. They have hundreds of virtual games a day. Hundreds. Money's pouring through that site, but it's virtual. Virtual died when COVID died, in my opinion. What was the last convention you went to?
Gen Con.
Yeah.
Gen Con. How many people were there?
70,000.
70,000, right? Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Is virtual gaming alive or dead? I'm going to PAX Unplugged in the beginning of December.
So are we.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's go. High five. We just high fived. Okay. So why are you going to PAX Unplugged when you could watch it from home, right?
Because you want to be there with the people.
Yeah. That's how people want to play games too. They want to play a game with other people. I love sitting here right now with you guys. I can see your facial expressions.
Yeah.
I can get amped up. I was very somber before we started, but as you're giving me facial, I'm giving you more energy, right? Because we're playing off of each other, and that's what we do. And that's how games are supposed to be run. And Start Playing has hundreds and hundreds of games a day. My buddy owns RPG Club, and he interviews every one of his GMs. He's doing very well, but he's doing virtual as well. But he does very well.
Right.
But if you were to interview every one of their players and ask them, what would you rather do, play in person or in public? 96% of them would probably say in person.
Yeah.
I'm trying to give them that option.
Yeah. And we've had that discussion with our players because we did a lot virtual because COVID.
Yeah.
I still have a virtual game that I play in with some every now and then.
Look, I'm a hypocrite, I'm going to tell you. I still have paid games on my platform because they're still from COVID games. I have 2. They're still from COVID, and they're people from out of the area. But
that's why
I'm not going to stop until I have a GM in their area that they can stop running with me and go play with them in person. I'm going to still run it because they're almost like family. I went to one of their weddings.
Oh, yeah.
But I digress. I'm the only exception to the rule on my site, but it's because it was founded on, my site was founded on those games. That's how we paid for the initial site. But everything else, anytime I make a new game, it has to be in person now.
Yeah.
But you were saying.
Yeah, no, I think there's a place for the online games. And I agree. We saw a huge explosion during COVID, right? Nobody could get together to play together. Yeah. And we've talked about it multiple times. We saw a huge explosion of D&D as a game during COVID.
As therapy.
Yeah. And I think that kind of, a lot of people, I know before we started doing things here, I had only ever played in one in-person game. And all the rest had been digital because I started right before COVID hit. I think like 2017, 2018, something like that was my first introduction to D&D because I came into the nerd world from Magic and board games.
Mm-hmm. Magic played in person, by the way.
Yeah. I think COVID reintroduced that with the online gaming, but I also think it provides a safe space for some people, right? Because I myself am very much more of an introvert. That's why.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, okay. Anyway.
My wife, I get that.
Yeah. So to me, taking the steps to get to that first in-person game, I can't tell you how many times like I looked at the listing for, it was a local game store down in South Carolina, and I was like, man, that would be really cool. I really want to learn how to do this. What got me to actually take that step was actually playing in like a text-based game where it's like play by post in an online forum. And I was like, all right, I can do this. And then went through, made fantastic friends, guys I still talk to today, even though I don't live down there anymore. I think for some people there is that progression, but we've talked multiple times. I don't think you can beat the atmosphere around a good table.
Yep.
And I think that even virtually with all the upgrades and things that have come along, the virtual tabletops and all that sort of shenanigans that we now have access to, there's just something to be said about that in-person connection, because you can see somebody through a computer screen, you can see them with their webcam, but it's just a different feeling.
If I have to wait for someone to stop talking before I can speak because it's a bunch of noise and you can't differentiate what's going on, we have a problem. It's not the experience I'm looking for. And don't get me wrong, virtual tabletops are good, but I've watched a lot of people run games on virtual tabletops. I'd say about 30% of it is the GM clicking and clacking and moving things around and hold on a second, guys, and it breaks immersion.
Very much. Yep.
My games that I do virtual, the one I have left, the one I have left, I use a program called Vorpal Board, and it's my phone, but I still use physical terrain for all of my games.
I've seen your setup in the office. Yeah.
So it's a live shot of my table and of the miniatures, and the other people, when on the screen, they can scroll around and they can highlight. At home, it pops up to a 6x6 square, what they're looking at, so they can zoom in without actually having to zoom anything in.
Right.
And then they'll go, I want to move here. And I'm like, okay. And I just pick it up and go. So it's as close as in person as we can get it. So I'm not doing a lot of, I already have the monsters pulled up on another screen, all that other stuff, because I don't want to break immersion.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That is my biggest thing is if you're paying for an experience, I want you to live there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't beat that with a virtual game. You can only do that 100% in person.
Absolutely. And I feel like like you said, with a virtual game, it adds this extra degree of preparation that you need to have, because I know we've done a lot on Roll20 was where we started at. I think I like Fantasy Rounds better if we are doing it online, but
Flipping through maps.
if you have to stop and find something, like like, all right, everybody takes like a 2-3 minute break while I'm looking up this monster that we need to throw in.
But I still have to look things up in books.
Yeah.
I'm using the new rule set. I actually like the new rule set for 5th edition. I'm hoping that the monster manual is going to be the test. This is the freeform pitfall. Where were we going? Oh, yes. With prep, with an in-person game, if I have to look something up, hey guys, go get a drink. I'll be right back. And we all get up, they go and they sit and they talk to each other. You're not turning off the screen and just waiting. I had to do that yesterday. We had a one-shot event, and then I had my Sunday night regular game at the Garage Brewery. It was close to 8 hours of straight D&D, and there was one point that I could not find something in the rules, and someone went, this is the perfect time to go get a beer, and then 5 of the 7 people at the 6 players at the table got up and got a beer, and the other one was messaging their kid or something like that. But it builds in natural break times, and then they all are talking and they're all strategizing. They get back to the table and we have a little bit of a laugh. We get right back into the game. You don't have that with virtual.
No, I don't think so at all.
Yeah.
So
there is a wall.
Yeah. You did mention Bird Quest. We didn't make it up there because we kind of just planning sucks. This last couple months has been rough, but I was excited to see something like that in this area. Now it's up in Williamsburg, which in the city of Williamsburg was involved with making sure that
the person who coordinates that is actual city's event coordinator for the entire city of Williamsburg. So he was very much involved, and it was a city-sponsored event that they're building a convention center.
I have heard that. Yeah, I was looking on their site.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the reason why BurgQuest exists is they're going to have it's going to be this year. They're building it this year and next year. So in 2 years, the convention center is going to be over. He wanted to start the groundwork for bigger gatherings and conventions that could just be picked up and slid right into the convention center. So imagine having 2 years of a smaller convention, a smaller board gaming convention that should grow every year, and then making it a big thing at the debut of this. It was very smart.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it was great. It was well coordinated. I had a nice time.
So how many days? It was 2 days, right? BurgQuest?
I think it was 3. I think it was a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
I looked at the schedule, and like I said, we've been to Gen Con, we've been to PAX, some of the bigger ones. And for people that have been to them, like the hall will close at like 6 o'clock, but that doesn't stop anything. I was actually looking at the schedule for BirdCon, and they were like, oh yeah, at 6 o'clock, we're going to play till 4 a.m. It was written into the schedule, which I thought was really cool. And which really gave me the impression that this was a gamer convention kind of thing.
I didn't know if it happened or not because I wasn't there to witness it, but I do know that I actually went and modified the website to add convention hosting. I put in BurgQuest, and then their GMs got to join the site. They skipped the vetting process for it, and then they got to post their games, and then they advertised, and they sold out, which was nice.
I was going to say,
nice. Yeah. And it's a schedule. You weren't here 2 weekends ago. Pushing Dragons had their...
No, and I saw it, and
And it was cool. I was there. They did a really good job, but organizing was rough because they were using technology to organize things, but it was hard. People didn't know where they were supposed to go. Right. And I told the guy, I said, look, I would love to meet with you sometime soon and show you what I can offer to help you organize at least your paid games for your next Pushing Dragon thing. And it was, again, a lot of people had a lot of fun. They did a really nice job in North.
Yeah.
And I just want to help.
And I love that in this whole discussion that we're having right now, like this is very much for you because it is your livelihood now. Mm-hmm. This is being looked at as a business.
Yes.
Which I think is a great turn with where we are right now. The hobby has exploded when we just see more and more people come to this, and it's hard to find a DM sometimes. It's hard to get a group together. Like I said,
hard to keep them together.
That's a huge one. Scheduling's the BBEG all the time. Mm-hmm. So you talked about how you choose your game masters that are part of your site that are running your games. For somebody that is looking for a game, what does that look like for them? Like, where do they go? Like when they're on the website, like how do they make their decisions?
We wanted to keep it simple. Start Playing does a really good job of when you click on a game master, you have this full dossier of everything they've done, how many breaths they've taken in a day, right, where they went to school, what their gaming degree is, everything about this game master. And there's a lot of places for rules and a lot of other stuff. And I said, look, I don't know how many people sit and read these dossiers, these long things. In our instructions on the profile, it is literally when you're making your profile, it's a good idea to let people know who you are and keep it short and sweet, because most people are going to spend 30 seconds reviewing what you have to say before they decide if they like you or not.
Yeah.
Choose people who are going to give you good reviews, because your reviews will speak volumes of what kind of GM you actually are. And I make that the focus, the focal point. We let them load a few pictures of their games, their in-person games.
Yeah.
Right? But we don't go with a huge number of bells and whistles and look at me's and accolades. I want them to speak their truth of who they are as a GM. I've discovered that 2 paragraphs is usually enough before people can decide. We have a Find a Game Master section. You can sort by your area code. We are slowly growing. Hopefully, we're going to be growing a lot faster. We're working with ad company soon. That's a big deal. So that's in the works maybe this week.
Okay.
Paid advertisement through a firm, because we are, I don't want to say we're saturated in the area. There's still a lot of people that don't know we exist.
Yeah.
And when they find out about it, I had a lady join last night. I started a new campaign last Tuesday. I had 1 player. Now I have a full table. She joined. The last person that joined, she was at the One Shot event. She just moved back to the area from, I think, Texas.
Okay, yeah.
She's a medical assistant, med tech, and the doctor said, we need you back here. And so she moved back after being gone for years. And she's like, all my people I knew were in the military, and now they're all gone. I needed friends. And I I saw your site, and I was so excited. And then when at the end of the game, she says, any of these DMs have any open seats? And one of them said, Chris just started a new game. He might have a couple of seats open. So she signed up, and then she came over and goes, I just signed up for your game. I'm like, that's freaking awesome. Can't wait. Tuesday, let's do it. But that's what we do. We bring people together, right? And they can, like I said, you asked me, they can sort by game master. They can also sort by game. So they go in, we keep the parameters very simple. We have the option of doing 12 to 17. So kids games.
Sure. Yeah.
I have a lot of teacher friends who run games of D&D. They're vetted.
Yep. Good.
I also have a lot of government workers who have the government pass IDs that have to have background checks.
Yep.
So if they flash that thing and it's still open, I know that they had background checks. I'm part of the Game Manufacturers Association, so I can do background checks, criminal and child abuse background checks on GMs if they ever show interest in working with kids.
Right.
We also work in public. So again, that's another layer to the safety thing, right?
And I think that part is huge.
But we can run games for just kids. We can run games for 12 and up. So kids, we have a couple family games, and then we have 18 plus. And so you can sort by that. You can sort by experience level. Great for beginners or experienced gamers only kind of deal. So that's easy. But we don't go, like I said, we don't go too deep into who we're looking for, because most people know what they're looking for.
Right.
And then when every game has to have a description, and they post where they're having it. But the big thing is, especially for game masters, virtual is easy because you can put it up there and you do it out of the comfort of your home.
Right.
A lot of times my main question that's asked, where do I play?
Yeah.
Where do I put my game?
I'm glad you know where this interview is going, man.
I do.
That's right.
I'm good. I have a good insight check. High perception, high insight. Yeah. A lot of people say to me, Chris, I would love to GM, but I don't know where to run games. Start Playing and some of the other sites. They're a great machine. They crank out games. They don't have a personal touch. You could email them and ask questions, and they will send back a response, but they don't have someone who's willing to, hey, let's get on the phone. Let's talk. It's only me. I'm the only employee of the company. Okay. But when a game master signs up, I had a guy that signed up outside of, I think, Boston, somewhere in Massachusetts recently. And he sent me a message and said, hey, am I doing this process right? And I went and looked. I said, you set up your account. Good. You connected your bank. Good. Because it's direct deposit.
Sure. Okay.
And then, hey, you don't have your reviews, so you can't post games. He goes, what happens after I get the reviews? How do I find a venue? I said, where are you? And he told me where he's at. And I said, do you have a lot of breweries or game stores or restaurants? He goes, yeah, they're everywhere. I said, okay. do they have slow nights? And he's, yeah, everything has a slow night.
I was going to say, yeah.
And so I said, you want to find a place that you're comfortable with, that's relatively close, that has a slow night. And then you want to approach their event manager and say, hey, I need a table and I'm going to bring me and 6 other people, 5 other people, whatever, every week, every other week, for as long as you let me stay here, and we're going to come in, we're going to eat, we're going to drink, we're going to have a merry time.
Yeah.
What bar manager is going to actually say no to that?
Yeah,
No,
especially on a slow night.
Especially on a slow night.
Yeah.
And you say, hey, I want to run a game here. I don't know how to sell that, Chris. Oh, okay. Go to your GM profile, go to your GM dashboard, scroll down about midway, and you're going to see a venue assistance form. And go ahead and fill that out. And so they will fill out this form, and I get a nice nifty email. What is the name of your venue? What is their website? What's the contact phone number of the place? And then questions for the GM. When do you want to run games?
Yeah.
And then I, on their behalf, will contact the venue. I have had one place tell me no.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Was it local?
Mm-mm.
Okay, cool. Like I said,
Yeah.
you want to say
Well,
that?
they're not in business anymore. There was a game store in Suffolk. They could not get past that I am partnered with another game store, and they did not want to have games in there because they thought I was going to try to subvert their business and take over.
Yeah. You can say the name of the store if you no, the one you're with. Your partner.
Tower of Games.
Okay, feel free. I will tell you my impression just real quick as far as Tower of Games go. When I first got here, and I've been in the area for about 15 years, I avoided this place like the plague. And then the Navy was like, look, you're going to Norfolk. And I was like, I guess you're the boss. And I got here and this is home now. The Tower of Games was always, I don't know, it did not feel like somewhere that I was comfortable going in. And I've had friends of mine, like years ago, I'm talking years ago, and like friends of mine that were women too, they would say that, I don't know, I feel weird when I go in there, which was, and I never was able to put my finger on it. But in the past, probably like 4 years, especially as I've been living on this side of town as well, I feel like Tower has done a lot to feel more welcoming. Just, I don't know if it's staff or what it was. I think the first big time I noticed it was when they were doing their annual sale.
Oh, yeah.
Like the big fire sale they do like once a year. It's just like, oh, we're just basically cleaning stuff out. And there were a couple of women that were working the front desk, and just you walked in and it was like, oh, yes, come in here. Also, do you want one of these? Here's a raffle we're doing and stuff. But yeah, so just my personal plug for Tower of Games and the variety of stuff that they have going on there, including your games, which you get to play on really nice tables.
This is true.
Yeah.
Really well-made tables, Mike, if you're listening. Michael Jimenez of the Weathered Dragon.
Yeah.
Wink, nod. Wonderful tables. I know. I've got one of those too.
I figured you would.
I love my dice tray. I got rid of my wormwood dice tray, and I'm using this.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. And support local, and Mike's
absolutely
great at what he does.
Yeah, I won't talk bad about the other company because we're on a professional service here, and I'm not going to be that guy. Personally,
Mike said the same thing when he was out there. He's like, look, I'm not going to say anything bad, but so yeah, it was good. It was good.
But yeah, no, Tower's been real good to me. The owners, if I need advice, they jump on the phone with me and they help out.
Yeah.
They pose questions to me when I want to make a decision I'm not sure about, and they make me think about things the way a business owner should.
Yeah.
Not necessarily leading with my heart and the emotion, but logically, and that has helped out a lot.
Yeah, and I feel like they've got what, 4?
They have four stores.
Yeah. There's what, 2 here,
3 in Virginia, 1 in Boca Raton, Florida.
Yep. So yeah, probably good people to get like advice from when you're looking at this like a business.
And they're looking for 5.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that, but I know that they're always looking to expand.
Oh, sure.
But they're not running their store like a mom and pop's game store, like a hobby shop. They're running it like a business.
Yeah.
And I can appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. We've had this talk. Matter of fact, one of the ways I tricked him into moving up to Virginia.
To trick your brother to move into Virginia?
I was convincing him.
Okay.
My wife wanted to move to the beach. Does it win?
Right. It's like, I don't know but we have a beach. We even put it in the name. We're not burying the lead here at all. But it was this podcast. I was like, dude, we would see each other on holidays and stuff. But I was like, hey, yeah, D&D, board games. Yeah. I just, like, if you were closer, we'd get to do stuff. And at one point, someday, one of these days, we've talked about opening our own shop and looking at Tower. That's the way it has to be a business. And I think you have to work on building that community around it. And people that show up there know what they're getting when they get there. You've talked about the ins and outs of how you do things and how you're getting your game masters and where you find people at. I've seen your office because we met. Yeah. And we got to go up and look at it. And
I love doing that. Hey, welcome. Hi, how you doing? You want to see my office? Yeah. And I bring them upstairs and they're like the fun stuff.
Yeah. Exactly. There's the miniatures, and I use that term as a all-inclusive from the inch high to the 2.5 foot high. Yeah. You have the terrain all broken down and stuff. And one of the things that I was really fascinated learning that this kind of GM as a service thing you're doing is your GMs that are local, especially, can show up and, I'm going to run this game. I need some terrain. So again, we talk about that Mercer experience where you've seen that. We've seen the guys at PAX.
I'm bringing terrain to PAX.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I haven't put a schedule. I'm still trying to figure out PAX.
Right.
Their scheduling. I don't think I can post anything yet. I don't know, but I'm bringing a one shot to PAX, and I'm going to sit down. I'm going to run games for people if they want to sit down. So
and you've seen these professional games where they pull the sheet back and there's the temple. There's So your GMs that play have access to those kind of resources as well, which again is a thing that not a lot of home GMs are going to have.
Yep. So we slayed that schedule monster.
Yeah. Very well. Good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huzzah.
I know you're a fan of rogues, but that feels very paladin-y.
Oh gosh, don't get me started. I was telling this story to one of Tower employees that was going with us to Gamma, and I was explaining why I love rogues, but I think I'm secretly a paladin, and it makes me upset. So she says, "Explain this to me." I said, "Okay." When I was teaching at Tallwood High School, I had to go to Home Depot after work one day to return wooden dowels that were the wrong size.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So I was in the return line, and I was waiting in line, and this guy comes. We were watching him walk through, and he's on his phone. He's got a ribbon of receipts behind him. And he's holding 2 giant boxes of screws. And he's tilting his head on the phone and talking to someone. And the person that was helping me goes, "Sir, I need to see a receipt." And he goes, "Sorry, I'm on the phone." And he bolted. And I turned and I looked and I said, "Not today." And I turned and I started running after him. Okay. I'm like, "Stop, drop the drills." Because they said he's shoplifting.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And so he's running. This is 2018, 2019. He's running, and he starts prairie dogging in the parking lot, popping his head over the cars, because I guess he didn't coordinate with his getaway driver where they were going to meet up.
Definitely
so
not
I'm
a criminal
chasing
mastermind.
him. Yep, chasing him through the parking lot, and I passed one of the teacher assistants in my school, and she goes, "Mr. Todd, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm catching a shoplifter." And I'm running through the parking lot, and I finally get him. I got my phone out, start recording. He gets in the car. They can't drive forward because the person parked with a car parked on the other side of them. They can only back up, and I'm standing behind it. I said, "You mother Fuddrucker, get out of the car." I said, "I got you. The police are on their way. I got your license. I got your face. Drop the drill." And he opens the car up. You see his shoulders drop from the car. He drops the drill out. He goes on the floor. He goes to shut the door. I said, "There were 2." He does the second one, falls out, and he hits the brakes, or they hit the gas, they back up, and they zoom out. And this is on Lynn Haven Parkway, so it's it's really hard to get out of, right?
Yeah.
And you can see him down Princess Anne Road, all the way. Princess Anne. Yeah. So I'm walking back with these drills like a hero. The lot attendant comes over with a cart and goes, "Sir, I'll take them." He puts them in the cart. I'm feeling like I'm a hero. I finished the story. And the person I was telling it to goes, "Chris, you're not a rogue." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "You're not a rogue. You're a paladin." I'm like, "No." And so I started, that resonated with me when we got to Gamma. It gets better, though. So while we're at Gamma, I start making connections with people.
Yeah.
Because I'm not an introvert. I am an extrovert. Yes, I am. They say, "Chris, go see that person and go bring them over." And they wind me up and they let me go. And I'll go and talk to somebody. And next thing, we're having our whole meals comped, and we're out to dinner, not at the convention, but we're out at a steak place, and the CEO of whatever company is buying us lunch and dinner because we're having such great conversation, right? That was the entire Gamma experience. And when we're walking out, she goes to me and goes, "Chris, you're not a paladin." I said, "Oh, good. You're a bard." I'm like, no. It was the other one that is not necessarily my favorite.
Yeah.
But that's my...
And I remember second edition when everybody was like, "Hey, I'm going to play a paladin." It was like, cool. I didn't want to have any fun this campaign anyway.
And I'm out. We also do a summer camp here.
You were telling me about that when we were in the office, yeah.
And so we got smart and marketed kids games every summer camp as well. So the GMs that were running those games, they offered a bi-weekly summer camp. And then the parents, in one day, those games sold out. They're still running, by the way. We did 3 camps and we introduced 3 different campaigns during that time. And the first time we did it over the summer, we did kids games and they sold out and then they fizzled away. And I figured it out is it's not the kid's fault that they can't show up. It's the parent.
Yeah.
And sometimes on the weekends, you have to get stuff done. And so a parent can't necessarily commit to weekly games. So if we set it up for bi-weekly games,
I was going to say that works much better.
Every other weekend, that parent is like, okay, they got D&D this weekend, but next weekend we can go ahead and do this. And it works out. It's been great. The kids keep showing up. The games keep happening. The DM's happy. I'm happy. Everyone's happy. And I'll sell out summer camp next summer again.
Nice. That's why we do bi-weekly episodes too.
Okay.
Because life.
Because of life. Yeah. Because of life. Life finds a way to mess with you sometimes. Yeah.
We've looked at a couple of other channels and done the math on them. Wow. They have this many listeners. They have this many people on their Patreon. They're paying this much. If we could figure this out, we could just quit working and do that. Hey, maybe one of these days. We'll see. Because now we're talking that the gaming industry and it is becoming a viable option.
Are you able to look up the average price of a party clown? No, I'm serious.
I can tell you. So funny. I have uniquely situated to answer this question. So in college, I picked up a lot of odd jobs. One of those was doing balloon animals. I was averaging doing balloon animals for birthday parties $75 an hour.
Okay. Yeah.
And that was back in 2009, 2010.
Okay. So what is it showing the average for per hour price?
So it's talking for the average for a clown is $200. So you're looking at somewhere between $150 and $250 for an hour. Yeah.
For an hour. Yeah. Okay. That's entertainment, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If I wanted to have a birthday party, and that's average. So we have to consider around here, it might be more, probably more. You're in a high population zone. It's going to be more. What's the average price of a movie ticket right now?
What, like $17, I think? $17, $18. Some of, if you go to the really nice theater, you're probably pushing the 20s. Yeah.
Or it's a cheaper ticket, but how much is the meal?
I was going to say.
So
you Cinema Cafe.
Yeah. So stuff like that, right? Or how much is it for a full meal at McDonald's or Chick-fil-A now? $11, $12, $13?
Yeah, it is.
Me personally, I charge $25 a person per week and per person to come and sit down at my table. And I'm running their story.
Especially when you're running multiple games.
Yep.
That can get really... How many people do you normally have at a table?
6.
Is it 6?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is that kind of the hard limit?
They can have as many as they want to, but if you're paying for a session, it's worth the money for a GM, $25 a person, and then 6 players at a 50-50 rate. You can do the math on that, right? It's worth me getting out of my house and going and running this game is worth the prep time, right?
Yep.
Especially when you turn around, you run 2 of those games and then you go to the store and you buy a bunch of miniatures for your games that you really want to use. A lot of our GMs do that. They get the stuff that they want for their games. Yeah. Or it's a date night for their wife and them. Right?
Oh, yeah.
They get to go out and have fun. It's the next game that comes out on the console. And that's what they use their side money for. In my opinion, if you do more than 6, 6 is pushing it.
Yeah.
But if you do more than 6, you lose that personal touch.
I can understand that. Yeah. We tried that experiment as well. And it takes a little bit more time. And when it's a home game, all right, whatever. But again, when you're looking at it from a business.
You don't want to leave people out.
Right.
With 6, I don't leave people out.
Yeah. Yeah.
With 4 is if I had a game that I could run with 4 people and still be cost beneficial, I would do that in a heartbeat. I'd be very happy with that. But I'm not doing that. I'm doing 6 people. We're bringing you something that brings you immense happiness, and you're not a spectator. You get to shape that happiness.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you pay for that?
Yeah. Yeah, we talk about that all the time. Our TTRPGs are such a unique experience compared to anything else that you have access to spend time on entertainment. They provide such a wonderful thing that I think really speaks to the heart of us as human beings, right? That collaborative storytelling element, that element of being able to make decisions and take opportunities that maybe you yourself have never gotten the chance to, that escapism, right? Yeah. All of those things I think make TTRPGs this wonderful little thing that a lot of people have not experienced, and they hear it, and some of them are like, I would never like D&D.
And then we bring them to a table.
And then you find out that, 100%, this is something they get into. And I think we started off talking about Critical Role and the explosion of D&D, and I think that's been one of the important things that is done in other shows like it, is they've shown that it's not just for a certain type of people.
Yeah, as a people, as a human being, we started with oral stories, oral histories, and cave drawings.
Yep.
Because we have to tell a story. We as a people want story. Yeah. How many shows will come back and binge watch?
Oh, yeah.
Over and over. How many times have you watched all the Harry Potter movies or Lord of the Rings movies in a row over a weekend, right?
Right, yeah.
Why do you do that? Because you love the story. How many times do you reread a book, right? Because you love the story. As a people, we love a story. How many times do you get to participate in that story?
Right. It's just, you are just the voyeur. You're just watching. Yep. Yeah.
And you're like, oh, my heart, this is so good. And then what if you got to do it I've had people cry at the tables.
Yeah.
When you're a DM, I feel like
mad cry, like over a freaking potted plant. It is.
Give them a favorite NPC and then kill them. Sorry.
It's not, but it's true. Yeah. But it's not necessarily kill them. Make the plot point around something that they care about.
Yeah. Yeah. If you've been listening to this, there's been a lot of storytelling, even just when we sit and talk about this stuff that we've talked about all the time. Like the memories that you make at a table, like they're real memories. Like you said, it's not like watching a movie where you're like, oh, do you remember when Harry Potter did this? No, it is my character was involved, and it can get emotional. And again, for the new people that have come in from the Critical Role side of it, that it's not just what it used to be in second edition, where it was a hack and slash.
Yeah. Kick down the door.
Right.
It's not Munchkin.
No, not anymore. Yeah,
not
exactly.
Anymore.
Yeah. It is a great time sitting around and telling stories, and the service that you're offering, it's a steal for what I think players get out of it, because again, you're actually paying for a service now, and that service is, because I know we've had home games and we've just been winging them sometimes. It worked. We're also not getting paid for it. Like you said, there are some people that still get pushback to this and stuff, but this is such a viable entertainment option. So I'm excited that we have it here, and it's something that we can get into, and the locals, Hampton Roads, have this. Thanks for coming on, Chris. This has been exactly what I wanted, to let you sit and let us talk about this.
It's been great.
Yeah, I have loved it. I'm excited. We haven't played in a while, and we were talking about it. It's like, we should just go do this. I'm excited to have it. Is there anything, I know you talked about expansion as well.
So we are a nationwide company.
Okay.
We have the ability to have GMs all over the country, and with the GM assistance form. And again, it's a Google Doc
right
in the website, and I get an email with the answers. But for me to give you that personal touch to help you set up your venue, because you are essentially going into business for yourself. Once you become a pro GM on our site, you become a subcontractor.
Is there anything that we missed? Anything that you want the people to know? Social media, where can they find you?
We're Rogue Game Masters on Instagram, TikTok, on Facebook for the old folks who still use Facebook. Hey, you're making a face, but I'm right there with you.
I was going to say, yeah,
we're... But yeah, on the social medias, that's where you can find me.
Awesome. And for your website, which I'll put in the show notes as well.
RogueGameMasters.com.
Got it.
Yep.
Got it.
It's very simple.
Cool. Chris, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, guys.
We're going to test out a new segment, so we'll see how that goes.
Let's do it. I'm all excited.
We were having the time of our lives when we started. Everything was groovy, but I'm noticing lately we've been half-hearted. West Side Story don't feel pretty anymore.
So when we have a guest on, we did have a segment that we love to do, which was Know Your Character, where they bring one of their favorite characters on and we start talking about it and figure out where to put them as an NPC. We've found here lately that we've had a lot of forever DMs that come on.
Yep.
And they're like, I really don't have a favorite character. And it was like, I spoiled that idea. So we're going to try out a new segment. And Chris, we figured you were the perfect person to kick this off.
Yay.
So this new segment for when we do have the forever DMs on is going to be How I Met My Party. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk to a forever DM and we're going to get some ideas like, what is your favorite setting to start in and where to start, right? Because all parties don't have to start in a tavern. And then maybe talk about some good hooks to get a party involved, some of the favorites that you like to use. And then maybe if there's any NPCs or how you like to insert them as like the quest givers, like in the bar kind of thing. So yeah, we're going to try this out. I think we'll be fine. We'll be fine. So let's start with where to start a campaign.
For me, campaigns start with characters. So campaigns start with characters, and I do the idea of sitting down with my players or messaging them over the phone, because I do that a lot.
Right.
I'm a very hands-on GM when it comes to their backstories.
Which again makes the game good.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it doesn't have to be, I told them, please don't tell me that your whole family's dead and they were murdered by somebody and this, that, and the other. It's been done. You're not Batman. We get that. And I'm okay. If it makes sense to your character's story, that's
Right.
fine. But it also has to fit into my world.
Yeah.
And things like that are big events in the world. And a lot of what I do is based on what the character, I ask them, what kind of theme do you want for your game?
Sure.
Are you treasure hunters?
Yeah.
Are you down with the government? Are you helping the needy? Are you slaying the dragons? Or do you want a realm hop? What is the theme that you eventually want to have for your game? And based on that, I can narrow down where we're going to start.
Okay,
And
yeah,
the region that we're starting in, and then what's happening in the region. And at the 0 session, if we do one, I don't always do a 0 session. I do a long chat with our players. And I know it's Chris, that's a 0 session. Not necessarily. But I lay it out before they give me anything about their characters. I let them know what's happening in the region politically.
So they can write.
So they can write off of that. If we're in this one place and they don't have a king, you're not having the Lord whoever burnt my place down because they're not collecting taxes, because there is no Lord of that whatever, because this region doesn't have kings and queens and things of that nature. So it stymies that type of mentality. So that's one of the first things I do is just what's happening in the possible regions where we're starting.
Right.
And then I sit down and I talk to them about what do they want their character to do? Where do they see their character at the end of the campaign? Picture, and then it's a teaching thing, because I was a teacher. I never went over this. I was a teacher for 20 years before I started doing this full time. When I was in English, when we would plan backwards, what is it that we want the kids to learn? And then we would plan
Like build the
in
curriculum
reverse.
back on that.
Yeah.
And how do we get there? Picture, where do you want your character at the end of this? Okay. So you want them to be the hero, right? So are you going to make a murder hobo to start?
Sure.
No, I'm not. Okay. Let's work on that. And then do you want your character to start with somebody in the group? Do they already know each other? Are you comfortable starting with a patron or working for someone?
Right.
Are you just getting off of a job? Do you have a little coin to spend? And then when I get the general group consensus on that, and if it's a majority or, yeah, we're still on a job or we just got hired to do this, that, and the other, okay, that's where we're starting.
Sure. Yeah.
You have a patron who's hired you to do a job. You just got out of the orientation and now you got to work with that guy, right? And then who is that guy? And that's how we meet, how our characters meet, things like that. For me, it's having it that way where they're tied to each other, but they're not necessarily, but they have an objective in the beginning.
Right. So they're working together because if nothing else, they have to right now.
Yeah, they have to right now. It tends to bond people.
So what about for you have any NPCs that you like to reuse or throw in there?
I got a fairly good Puma Soul voice, so I tend to do some good magic chaps.
But honestly, I have a whole range of voices and players and NPCs. I'm not the person that's got a book of NPCs.
Yeah.
When we're in town, if it's one of my players' hometown, I look at them and say, hey, what's around? And I want them to fill in the blanks because it gives them onus to the game.
Sure. They're actually helping with the world building.
And I tell them ahead of time, hey, we're gonna be coming up to your character's town. Are you comfortable with coming up with a little bit about your home? And some of them are like, yeah, heck yeah, let's go. And then some of them are like, not necessarily, or can I have some guidance? Sure.
Yeah.
But I want them, give me a tour of your town. And so I let them do those things and the pride that they have, right? And then, but if it's a place that is just off the side of the road or they're at a caravan stop and someone plucks the loot and everyone starts to go and someone's walking around, is anybody selling anything? I read the room.
Yeah.
A lot of people are looking for something silly, so I'm going to do something silly. A lot of people are, or I have a group that is no nonsense. They're selling this, that, and the other. Do you want to buy stuff? Sure. How much? Good. Okay, good. Gone. It's reading the room, knowing your players. Some players don't want to do a shopping episode.
Yeah, I get that. And I love that because every now and then you've got to be a little funny. From the Counting Crows, the band of Kinku. Yeah, we had a band we threw out there that was Counting Crows. That were all Kinku. It was awesome. But yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah,
I'm going to take that.
yeah.
And last night they're in Port Zune, and Port Zune is an industrial city. It's a port on the Menagerie Coast, and it's magic and technology, and it pushes those boundaries. They
Yes.
have power, they have electricity, right? And so what does a magic shop look like in a place that also has technology?
Right.
And it looked like a circa 1998 Taco Bell / the Max from Saved by the Bell.
And there's a guy in there. What's up, guys? How's it going? Welcome to the store. Please feel free to shop around. Just don't necessarily touch things, dudes.
But it also, when they walked in, the lighting wasn't working well, so it was all blacklit. So it was all blacklight, and they're like, "What's going on?" He's, "Hold on a second, we're technically not open. I don't even know how you guys got in here. 1 second, I got to figure out my lights." And he turns it on, and everything goes back up, and it's just a lot of swirls and geometric patterns that are your shelves,
Right, yeah.
That things are built into. It's just his aesthetic.
Yeah.
And I came up with that in 10 seconds when they reminded me that they were going to the magic shop this week, because I packed for the one shot, didn't grab the other stuff because the ceiling in my hallway collapsed, and they chose this weekend to fix it, and I couldn't get into my office to get the rest of my stuff for Sunday. So I didn't have any of my notes for my game.
Oh.
So when we did the recap, I looked at them and I said, "Guys, I'm gonna be honest with you. This is what happened." They're like, "It's not like we don't take notes, Chris. We're good." And they told me what they were doing. So I'm like, "Oh, okay." I had to throw out whatever I wrote down for my notes when I got to the office today. I scratched things up and I wrote down everything I did for them. But it's just fast. But as you DM, you come up with things really quick.
The improv side of it.
The improv side of things is great.
Yeah.
And if you know your audience, you know what's going to make them happy. So you just do that.
Yes. Yeah.
When it's not, you do that, you're giving a level of player service that is, it means so much to them, but it has no bearing on the game itself.
Sure.
A
yeah.
shop owner, unless it's the big bad in disguise, which, remember that old regular first Xbox D&D game where the big bad was the
Yeah.
shopkeeper? Really? But
Yeah.
unless he's the main bad guy, the shop person has no bearing on the actual adventure. So why not make it a fun exchange?
Exactly. I like that. Yeah. So yeah, again, know your audience. Another big part of that too, just to throw it out to, if you're wanting these experiences, you got to be the good players. Take the notes, involve yourself, get in there.
Yeah.
I like that. So there you go, guys. Starting a campaign, you want to get them involved, talk to your players, know what they're looking for in the game, and then make sure that they're fitting into the world that you've got ready for them.
But it's their world.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the big thing.
Yeah.
Is I'm not telling my story. I'm telling your story.
Right? So if you have not been convinced to go check out the Rogue Game Masters so far, just a look at how you are probably going to get started should definitely make you consider it. So, Chris, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thanks for being our guinea pig on this one.
I appreciate it.
I liked it. Right where I was wanting to go. So we're all good.
Yeah. That was awesome. Thank you.
After the Dapper Meeple, I'm Jim.
And I'm Josh. Good night, everyone. Thanks, everyone, for sticking around and listening to our show.
If you enjoyed it, let me ask you a favor. Follow us and leave a like wherever you get your podcasts. It'll really help us out.
And if you have anything to say back to us, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook by searching for the Dapper Meeple. Or you can email us at dappermeeplegaming@gmail.com.
And as always, we'll save you a seat at the table.